Born from a cellar mishap, champagne has risen to become one of the eternal symbols of magnificent France, where every pop resounds as a triumphant anthem of joy, love, and victory through the centuries. But how are more than 300 million bottles of one of the world's most expensive sparkling wines produced each year? The grand journey begins in the vast vineyards of Champagne, the sanctuary of luxury and refinement, where only the finest grape clusters are carefully selected before entering the winery. There, under the skillful hands of artisans and a series of secret techniques, the legendary bottles celebrated worldwide as the bubbles of happiness begin to take shape. Today, join Agriculture Insight as we step into the heart of France to explore the one-of-a-kind Champagne vineyards and uncover all the secrets behind this world-renowned sparkling wine. Everything will be revealed in this video. More than just a drink, champagne is a national pride, a true symbol of the French way of life. In the 17th century, people whispered that Dom Pérignon, the Benedictine monk, was the father of champagne. In truth, the sparkling phenomenon had appeared naturally before, but Dom was the one who perfected the technique and laid the foundation for the world-famous sparkling wine we know today. By the 18th century, what was once dismissed as a cellar flaw had undergone a spectacular transformation, becoming the king of wines and the wine of kings, closely associated with King Louis V, the French aristocracy, and later the whole of Europe. Today, champagne is often misused as a generic term for any sparkling wine at weddings, festivals, or sports celebrations. But few realize that only sparkling wines made from grapes grown in the Champagne region, crafted under hundreds of strict regulations, truly earn the prestigious AOC Champagne label, with prices reaching thousands of euros, often 5 to 10 times higher than Italian Prosecco or Spanish Cava. Currently, the giants ruling the sparkling wine world include Moët & Chandon, Veuve Clicquot, and Louis Rittera, with their most luxurious cuvées such as Dom Pérignon, La Grande Dame, and Cristal, ultimate icons of sophistication in the champagne universe. Unlike red wine, with its warmth and lingering finish on the palate, champagne enchants with its explosion of millions of bubbles, carrying the pure aromas of green apple, ripe pear, and a hint of toasted bread. Yet, this is but a single brushstroke in the grand portrait of champagne. Now, let us take you to the very first stop, the vineyards at harvest season, where every legendary bottle of sparkling wine begins its journey. One of the key reasons behind champagne's timeless value lies in its grapes. Among the hundreds of wine grape varieties across the world, only Chardonnay and Pinot Noir stand out as the most suitable candidates, providing the acidity, purity, and depth of flavor essential to this sparkling wine. And remarkably, even when these same grapes are grown in Burgundy, Bordeaux, or California, they can never replicate the true taste of champagne. Only the region's distinctive chalky soils impart that unique minerality, freshness, and balance. In other words, nature itself has appointed Champagne as the birthplace of this legendary sparkling wine. But even the finest grapes are not enough. Across tens of thousands of hectares, every single champagne must be harvested entirely by hand. This is not merely a regulation, but a sacred ritual. The official start of harvest can only be declared by a technical committee, after closely monitoring physiological ripeness, sugar levels, acidity, seed and skin condition, and the taste of the pulp. Only when all these factors reach the perfect balance is each village granted permission to begin picking. From the break of dawn, hundreds of workers spread across the vineyards. With sharp, specialized shears, they carefully snip each cluster as though handling a treasure, placing it gently into shallow wooden crates to avoid crushing. To qualify, the grapes must be intact, neither bruised nor wilted, selected right in the vineyard through the keen eyes and seasoned hands of experienced pickers. Immediately afterward, each crate is labeled with the vintage, vineyard name, and exact origin, ensuring absolute transparency and traceability. Unlike red wine, where grapes are typically crushed and fermented with their skins to extract color and tannins, Champagne begins with absolute purity. Immediately after harvest and sorting, the fresh clusters must be transported to the press house as quickly as possible, keeping the berries intact to prevent oxidation and avoid any bitterness from the seeds or skins. What makes Champagne unique is that the grapes are always pressed whole, in bunches. This long-standing tradition is closely tied to the classic coquard or basket presses, designed to spread the clusters evenly and apply only gentle pressure. Today, many producers have adopted modern pneumatic presses, which allow for more precise pressure control while still honoring the philosophy of pressing, not crushing. This stage is the cornerstone of the Champagne method, pressing with utmost delicacy to obtain the clearest, purest juice, pure enough to make white wine even from red grapes. It is the very first step, and also the reason why Champagne houses guard their pressing techniques as a vital trade secret. After pressing, the grape must undergo clarification for at least 12 to 24 hours. Winemakers may choose oak barrels, which add richness, subtle notes of butter and vanilla, and a rounded structure, particularly favored in prestigious vintage champagnes. For non-vintage cuvées, however, the juice is usually kept in stainless steel tanks to preserve freshness, purity, and the wine's characteristic fruitiness. This settling process allows solid particles, soil residues, and grape skin fragments to sink to the bottom, leaving behind a crystal-clear juice, an essential preparation before fermentation begins. The first fermentation takes place much like that of still wine. Natural or added yeasts convert sugar into alcohol and CO2. Since the process occurs in open vessels, the CO2 escapes, leaving behind a young wine with an alcohol content of around 11%. At this stage, it is not yet champagne, but merely the base wine, the overture before the grand symphony that is yet to come. If champagne were a symphony, blending would be its most crucial act of harmony. After the first fermentation, each vat of base wine carries its own character and flavor, shaped by the grape variety, the vintage, the terroir, and the method of maturation. The task of the cellar master, the maestro of the cellar, is to taste hundreds of these different base wines and combine them in perfect proportion. This process demands refinement, experience, and an extraordinary memory of taste. The goal, to ensure that every bottle of champagne expresses the house's signature style, no matter whether the year's weather was generous or unforgiving. Once blended, the base wine is transferred into special glass bottles and swiftly sealed with a steel cap, much like a beer bottle. It is here that the magic begins. The yeast starts consuming the added sugar, producing alcohol and CO2. This time, however, with the bottle tightly sealed, the gas cannot escape. It dissolves into the liquid, creating the signature effervescence of champagne. Beyond the bubbles, this second fermentation also generates lees, spent yeast cells that, as they break down, release complex organic compounds. These impart aromas of toasted bread, roasted nuts, and baked butter. Layers of flavor found only in truly fine champagne. By law, non-vintage champagne must rest in the cellar for at least 15 months, while vintage champagne requires a minimum of 3 years. In practice, many producers age their wines far longer, 5, 7, even 10 years, unlocking greater depth and complexity. After sufficient aging, the bottles of champagne enter the riddling or remuage stage. This traditional technique is designed to collect all the lees into the neck of the bottle. The riddler places the bottles on a wooden rack with angled holes, called a pupitre, and gently rotates each bottle a quarter turn every day while gradually increasing its tilt. Over the course of several weeks, the sediment slowly settles into the neck near the cap. Today, many champagne houses use gyropalettes, automated rotating machines to save time and labor. Yet in prestigious cellars, the art of hand riddling is still preserved, honored as a symbol of tradition. Riddling is a crucial step in preparing the bottles for the next stage, degorgement, the removal of the sediment. This is the magical moment. The neck of the bottle, where the lees have collected, is plunged into a deep freezing solution, solidifying the sediment into a small ice plug. When the cap is removed, the pressure of the CO2 forcefully ejects the plug, carrying the lees out with it. The result is a crystal-clear champagne, pure and brilliant, though now slightly reduced in volume. To restore the lost liquid, the winemaker adds a mixture known as liqueur d'expédition, composed of base wine and a precise amount of sugar. This final touch defines the champagne's style: brut nature, extra brut, brut, sec, demi-sec, or doux. The level of sugar determines the taste profile, offering different sensory experiences for every connoisseur. At the same time, the artistry behind crafting the cork and wire cage, the silent gatekeepers of champagne, is equally vital. Unlike ordinary wine corks, a champagne cork is composed of several layers of natural oak bark, strong enough to withstand pressure 3 times greater than that inside a car tire. The wire cage, or muselet, serves as a suit of armor, fastening the cork securely and preventing it from bursting out under the force of the gas. Together, this duo has become an enduring symbol of champagne. Steadfast and reliable, yet irresistibly enchanting the moment they are released, marking the opening of a celebration and the beginning of joy. And when everything is complete, each bottle of champagne is sealed with a cork and secured by its wire cage. This iconic image has become inseparable from champagne itself, a universal symbol of celebration and festivity around the world. The bottles are then left to rest for several more months in the cellar, allowing the flavors to harmonize and stabilize. At last, as they emerge from the darkness into the light, champagne is ready to carry within it the legacy of years of meticulous craftsmanship. From the vineyard to the cellar, from years of meticulous aging to the resounding pop of the cork, champagne is not merely a wine, it is the very essence of French artistry, a symbol of luxury and celebration. Every bubble carries the resonance of tradition, the precision of craftsmanship, and the promise of unforgettable moments. To open a bottle of champagne is not simply to drink, but to partake in an eternal ritual of elegance. Once a sacred luxury reserved for nobles, perfume has now become a global accessory, where style and identity are etched into every invisible drop, fueling a billion-dollar empire that never stops growing. But have you ever wondered how the bottles of perfume you see every day are actually made? The journey of creating these captivating statements of identity begins with the earth itself, where delicate flower buds are carefully harvested and brought to the workshop. From there, precious essential oils are born, moving deeper into an intricate blending process that transforms them into exquisite perfumes, mesmerizing millions of fragrance lovers around the world. Today, join Agriculture Insight as we uncover the most unique perfume-making process and the secret formulas hidden behind those glass bottles overflowing with scent. All will be revealed in this video. Every day, millions of bottles of perfume are consumed across the globe, serving as an invisible weapon that helps people feel more confident and attractive. Few realize that this beauty ritual traces back to ancient Egypt, where perfume was used to embalm pharaohs and connect with the gods. Over 55 billion USD, that is the staggering value the fragrance industry generates each year. The 17th century marked a turning point when distillation techniques were perfected, transforming glamorous France into the cradle of modern perfumery. Today, despite the rise of hundreds of brands, France still reigns supreme in both production and export, with legendary pillars like Chanel, Dior, and Guerlain. When speaking of French perfumes, sophistication, classic elegance, and luxury remain their timeless declaration. Meanwhile, fashionable Italy has made its mark with bold creativity and individuality through Gucci, Dolce & Gabbana, and Acqua di Parma. What's fascinating is that the very same bottle of perfume smells different on each person as it interacts with their skin's pH, body chemistry, and even lifestyle, creating an invisible signature that carries a deeply personal imprint. And to create this magic, every bottle of perfume is born from dozens, sometimes even hundreds of ingredients, with floral essences at its very heart. Now, let us begin the journey at the very first stop, lavender essential oil, the pillar of perfumery, where endless purple fields have nurtured the soul of countless eternal fragrances. Summer in Europe is the season of lavender. From the fields of Provence in France to the plains of Bulgaria, a sea of purple stretches endlessly, and when 70% of the blossoms are in full bloom, it marks the golden moment, the peak of essential oil content, ready for harvest. For farmers, harvesting lavender is not merely agricultural work, but an art passed down through generations with its own secrets and unwritten rules. The timing of the harvest determines more than 70% of the season's success in producing premium quality essential oil. Each day of delay causes the oil content in each purple blossom to drop noticeably. On the other hand, if harvested too early, the fragrance compounds have not yet fully accumulated their richness for distillation. Today, with the advancement of technology, manual harvesting has gradually given way to modern reaping machines. Across endless purple fields, specialized harvesters put on an impressive display of technology, gliding gently like ships cutting through waves in a sea of flowers. At the front is a system of sharp rotating blades, aligned parallel to the ground, cutting each lavender bush close to the root without crushing the petals. Immediately after, a synchronized serrated conveyor system sweeps the freshly cut lavender stems straight into the rear storage compartment, minimizing loss and preserving the quality of raw material before distillation. With just one run, a single machine can replace the labor of 20 to 30 farmers, boosting productivity up to tenfold compared to manual methods. Beyond saving time and effort, mechanization also ensures the flowers remain fresh and intact, preserving the maximum concentration of their precious essential oils. Immediately after harvesting, lavender must be transported to the factory within 24 hours to maintain freshness and minimize the loss of essential oil. With an annual yield of tens of thousands of tons, lavender has become a key supply source for the fragrance industry, accounting for up to 40% of the natural essential oils used in the production of perfumes and cosmetics. At the start of essential oil production, tons of lavender, lightly dried to 10 to 15% moisture, are poured into giant steam distillation vats. Here, the flowers are packed firmly enough for steam to permeate evenly through the entire mass. As hot steam is injected, essential oil molecules evaporate and rise along with the vapor. This mixture then passes through a cooling condenser system, where it transforms back into liquid form. Thanks to the difference in density, the essential oil floats to the surface and is separated in a Florentine flask. The water below, known as lavender hydrosol, still retains a gentle fragrance and is often used in cosmetics or room sprays. Finally, the essential oil is purified, bottled in dark glass containers or stainless steel drums, and stored at a stable temperature of 15 to 20 degrees Celsius. From there, the pale golden drops with their rich aroma are born, liquid gold that forms the foundation for countless iconic perfume formulas around the world. Yet, in the vast and diverse world of perfumery, lavender is not the only essential oil to be revered. At the higher end of the spectrum, rose and jasmine are celebrated as the true treasures of the fragrance industry. These two luxurious oils feature in nearly all legendary perfumes, from Chanel No. 5 and Dior J'adore to Guerlain Shalimar. And the journey to create them is no less elaborate than the making of a masterpiece. In Bulgaria, known as the Valley of Roses of the world, the harvest season for damask roses is fleeting, lasting only from late May to early June. The golden hour for picking is at dawn, when the petals have just begun to bloom and the essential oil concentration is at its peak. In the morning mist, farmers gently cradle each delicate bud, hand-picking them to preserve their fragile fragrance before quickly placing them into wicker baskets to avoid bruising, then transporting them straight to the distillery. Much like roses, jasmine, delicate and fragile, can only be harvested entirely by hand. In India and Egypt, the two countries that together account for 90% of the world's jasmine essential oil, the harvest is carried out like a traditional ritual. Farmers carefully pluck each blossom by hand, taking care not to bruise the petals. To preserve the highest concentration of essential oil, the flowers must be picked at night, around 2 to 3 a.m., when darkness still cloaks the fields, but the blossoms are at their fullest bloom, releasing their sweetest and most enchanting fragrance. Immediately after harvesting, the jasmine is placed into airy wicker baskets and swiftly loaded onto carts for transport to the processing facility. There, the flowers are spread out on a clean floor, evenly raked for preliminary sorting and preparation before extraction begins. Speed is critical, for even a delay of a few hours can cause the petals to wilt and their precious fragrance to fade away. Unlike lavender, which can be distilled directly with steam, more delicate flowers, such as roses and jasmine, require a more refined method: extraction with organic solvents, most commonly hexane. In this process, freshly harvested flowers are placed into multi-layered extraction vats. Hexane permeates through the petals, dissolving the aromatic molecules to produce a thick, waxy substance known as concrete. The concrete is then washed with pure alcohol to remove waxes and impurities, leaving behind the absolute oil, called rose absolute or jasmine absolute, depending on the flower. To obtain just 1 kilogram of this oil, it takes millions of blossoms, making it one of the most precious treasures, sought after for centuries by legendary perfume houses such as Chanel, Dior and Guerlain. And once the absolutes are ready, the most awaited moment begins, stepping into the perfume ateliers, where the unique art of fragrance creation is finally revealed. From every corner of the world, barrels of fragrant lavender oil from Provence, regal damask rose from Bulgaria, and sweet white jasmine from India arrive at the perfume atelier. These are the very vowels of the fragrance symphony about to be composed. Each drop undergoes rigorous testing to ensure purity, concentration, and lasting power before entering the blending stage, the very heart of the art of perfumery. And now, our journey into the world of perfume production reaches its most important and anticipated stage, blending, the place where pure essential oils are combined to create timeless symphonies of fragrance. This is the domain of the nez, or golden noses, masters of scent, with the ability to distinguish and memorize thousands of aromas. In the laboratory, they work like true olfactory engineers, measuring every drop of essential oil, synthetic aroma, fixative, and solvent according to meticulously calculated formulas. Perfume is a three-tiered symphony: the fleeting top notes, the expressive and distinctive heart notes, and the deep, long-lasting base notes. Yet even the slightest imbalance can disrupt the harmony of the entire composition. To become a true golden nose, one must undergo 5 to 10 years of intensive training at prestigious perfume academies, such as ISIPCA in France, before being entrusted with their own formula. With this rare expertise, the salary of a skilled perfumer can range from $60,000 to over $150,000 USD per year. And for the top masters working at luxury houses, the figure can be many times higher. But pure essences alone are not enough to become perfume. To diffuse and linger, they must be diluted. The answer lies in the combination with pure alcohol and distilled water, where the drops of fragrance are softened, shaped into their own character, and brought to a perfect balance between intensity and longevity. At this point, you might think the perfume is ready for the market. Not yet. Just like wine needs time to mature, perfume too must undergo an aging process in massive steel vats, sometimes just a few weeks, but often stretching from 1 to 3 years. Here, time itself is the silent artisan, allowing the layers of fragrance to meld together, transforming the liquid blend into an immortal masterpiece. When the aging process is complete, the solution is cold filtered to remove residues, becoming pure and crystal clear. Finally, the fragrant elixir is bottled with absolute precision, each drop measured to perfection. Caps are sealed, labels applied by hand, and flacons embraced in luxurious boxes. Thus, from fields of purple, white, and red blossoms, through the hands of artisans and the mastery of advanced machinery, these essential oils are reborn as magnificent perfumes, timeless symbols of power, allure, and the art of living.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Agriculture Insight. Whiskey, a drink that's more than just a spirit. It's history, craftsmanship, and culture distilled into a glass. Scotland leads the charge, exporting a staggering 1.67 billion bottles of Scotch every year. Ireland follows with 148 million bottles of smooth Irish whiskey. And let's not forget the United States, home of bourbon and Tennessee whiskey, exporting 70 million bottles annually. But have you ever wondered how that golden liquid actually comes to life? How does a simple grain transform into a complex, aromatic drink that's cherished worldwide? The journey from grain to glass is nothing short of fascinating, involving science, artistry, and a whole lot of patience. Today, we're diving deep into the world of whiskey, exploring each stage of the production process, from selecting the grains to the final pour. Let's get started. Every great whiskey starts with a solid foundation: the grains. The choice of grains isn't just a matter of convenience, it defines the very character of the whiskey. Bourbon, the quintessential American whiskey, must contain at least 51% corn by law. The corn gives bourbon its signature sweetness and smoothness. Rye whiskey, by contrast, requires at least 51% rye, resulting in a spicier, more robust flavor. Scotch whiskey, on the other hand, primarily relies on malted barley, which creates rich, malty, and sometimes smoky notes. Once the grains are selected, they must be carefully prepared. The grains are cleaned to remove any dirt or impurities. High-quality grains are essential. Any flaws or inconsistencies at this stage could affect the final taste of the whiskey. The cleaned grains are then stored in silos, waiting for their turn to shine. With the grains ready, the next step is to break them down, literally. The grains are sent to powerful industrial mills that crush them into a coarse flour-like substance known as grist. The goal of milling is to increase the surface area of the grains, which allows for more efficient extraction of starches and enzymes during the next stage. If the grind is too coarse, the starches won't convert effectively. If it's too fine, the mash will become gummy and difficult to work with. Striking the right balance is crucial. Different distilleries have different milling techniques, often tied to the type of whiskey they're producing. For example, Scotch whiskey producers tend to use a coarser grind to enhance the malty character of the whiskey, while bourbon makers prefer a finer grind to maximize the sweetness from the corn. The freshly milled grist is then transferred to the mash tun, where the next magical phase begins. Mashing is where the real transformation begins. The milled grains are mixed with hot water in a large vessel called a mash tun. The temperature is carefully controlled, usually between 60 to 70 degrees Celsius. This activates natural enzymes in the grains, which break down the complex starches into simpler sugars like maltose. This process, known as saccharification, creates a thick, sugary liquid called wort. The mash tun is essentially a giant brewing pot, and the process resembles making beer. The choice of water is critical here. Soft water tends to produce a smoother whiskey, while hard water, rich in minerals, can create a more robust flavor. Many distilleries guard the source of their water as a closely kept secret, claiming it's one of the keys to their whiskey's unique taste. The mashing process typically lasts several hours, during which the mash is stirred continuously to ensure even conversion of starch to sugar. Once the wort is fully converted, it's separated from the solid grain husks through a process called lautering. The sweet wort is drawn off, leaving behind the spent grains, which are often recycled as livestock feed or fertilizer. The wort is now ready for fermentation, the step where the alcohol magic begins. The wort is cooled down to around 20 to 30 degrees Celsius and transferred into large fermentation tanks, often made of wood or stainless steel. Yeast is then added to the wort. Over the next 48 to 72 hours, the yeast goes to work, consuming the sugars in the wort and converting them into alcohol and carbon dioxide. This process also creates a variety of complex flavor compounds, including esters and phenols, which contribute fruity, floral, and spicy notes to the final whiskey. Shorter fermentation periods tend to create lighter, cleaner flavors, while longer fermentations develop deeper, more complex notes. The wash is transferred to copper stills, either pot stills or column stills, where it's heated. Since alcohol has a lower boiling point than water, it begins to evaporate first. The alcohol vapors rise through the neck of the still and are then condensed back into liquid form. Pot stills are used for single malt Scotch and Irish whiskey. They produce a richer, more flavorful spirit, but the process is time-consuming and requires more labor. Column stills, on the other hand, are used for bourbon and American whiskey. They allow for continuous distillation, which produces a lighter, more consistent spirit. Distillation typically occurs twice for Scotch and 3 times for Irish whiskey. The goal is to separate the heads, first distillate, and tails, last from the heart, middle cut, which contains the purest alcohol and flavor compounds. The heart is collected, while the heads and tails are recycled or discarded. The distilled spirit is now technically whiskey, but it lacks the rich color and deep flavor we associate with aged whiskey. That's where the oak barrels come in. Bourbon must be aged in new American oak barrels that are charred on the inside. The charring process involves burning the inside of the barrel with an open flame. This caramelizes the natural sugars in the wood, creating flavors of vanilla, toffee, and spice. Scotch and Irish whiskey can be aged in reused barrels, often former bourbon or sherry casks, which add layers of complexity. As the whiskey ages, it expands and contracts within the barrel due to seasonal temperature changes. This allows the whiskey to interact with the wood, absorbing tannins and other flavor compounds. The aging process can last anywhere from 2 years for bourbon to 30 years or more for premium Scotch. The longer the whiskey ages, the more complex and mellow it becomes. However, aging also results in evaporation, known as the angel's share, which reduces the volume of whiskey in the barrel over time. Once the whiskey has reached its peak, it's filtered to remove impurities. Tennessee whiskey undergoes an additional step called the Lincoln County process, where it's filtered through charcoal before aging to create a smoother taste. Finally, the whiskey is ready for the bottle. It's diluted with water to reach the desired proof, typically 40% ABV. Each bottle is filled, sealed, labeled, and packed for shipment. Some distilleries hand bottle their whiskey, while others use automated systems. And that's it, from grain to glass. Every sip of whiskey carries the legacy of generations of craftsmanship and expertise. The next time you raise a glass, take a moment to appreciate the complex journey that brought that golden liquid into your hand. Now let's a closer look at the ingredients.
Hello everyone. Did you know that the world produces over 4 billion tulip bulbs every year? That's right. These vibrant flowers are not just a symbol of spring, but also bring joy and beauty to millions of homes, gardens, and events across the globe. Tulips are loved for their wide range of colors, from red, yellow, and purple to pure white, and they always have a way of capturing our hearts with their simple yet captivating charm. In today's video, we'll dive into the magical journey of tulips. From the vast tulip bulb fields in Europe and North America to modern breeding centers, where every bulb is carefully nurtured before reaching the market. You'll see how creativity and advanced technology come together to deliver the most stunning tulips, perfect for spring festivals, elegant weddings, and more. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so you won't miss any of our exciting videos. Now, let's step into the dazzling world of tulips, where every bloom is a reminder of nature's incredible ability to amaze us. Tulips, these flowers with their graceful and vibrant beauty, have become a symbol of spring and a source of joy across the world. With over 6,000 different varieties, tulips aren't just flowers, they're a mesmerizing world of color. From the passionate red of love, to the sunny yellow of happiness, the regal purple, and the pure white of simplicity, each hue tells its own story, captivating anyone who lays eyes on them. What makes tulips truly special is their unique seasonal rhythm. They bloom gloriously in spring, usually between March and May, when the weather turns gentle and warm. But their journey begins much earlier, in the chilly autumn months of October and November. Tulip bulbs are planted during this time, and they rest quietly beneath the soil throughout winter, gathering energy and nutrients to burst into life when spring finally arrives. The process of planting tulips on vast fields is truly a magical story, where modern technology and a deep love for nature come together. The soil needs to be loose, nutrient-rich, and well-drained so the bulbs won't suffocate. Large modern tractors roll across the fields, tilling the earth evenly and clearing away weeds. Once the soil is ready, a layer of organic fertilizer is mixed in, almost like giving the soil a nutritious meal to help the bulbs grow. When everything is prepared, it's time to plant the tulip bulbs, a task that requires precision and care. The bulbs are placed into special planting nets spread across the fields. Modern planting machines then carefully set each bulb into the ground at just the right depth, about 15 centimeters deep to protect them from frost, and spaced 10 to 20 centimeters apart, giving each bulb plenty of room to grow. When spring arrives, the peaceful fields come alive as tiny tulip sprouts push their way up, reaching for the sunlight. Within just a few weeks, the entire field transforms into a vibrant sea of colors. When tulip sprouts begin to emerge, farmers take extra care to ensure their growth. Tulips love moist soil but are sensitive to waterlogging, so modern irrigation systems are used to maintain just the right level of moisture. Sunlight is equally important, with each plant getting enough sunbathing time to grow to its fullest potential. Gentle organic fertilizers act as a nutritious meal to help tulips grow faster and bloom vibrantly. However, every step is done with care, as tulips are delicate and require a soft touch. Thanks to this meticulous attention, each tulip blooms perfectly, adding to the pride and beauty of the flourishing fields. When spring arrives, vast tulip fields transform into a breathtaking masterpiece, with millions of vibrant flowers in full bloom. As the blooming season comes to an end, farmers begin the crucial task of cutting the flowers to direct nutrients back into the bulbs. Specialized cutting machines move steadily across the fields, carefully trimming each flower just above the leaves to avoid damaging the stems and bulbs below. The cut flowers aren't sold, but are instead left on the ground to decompose naturally, enriching the soil with organic nutrients. For smaller rows or flowers missed by the machines, workers complete the process by hand, ensuring every detail is handled meticulously. After the tulip flowers are cut, harvesting the tulip bulbs becomes the most critical stage on the field. Specialized tulip harvesting machines are designed to ensure high efficiency while carefully protecting each bulb from damage. These machines are not only powerful but also incredibly precise, making them ideal for the demanding yet delicate work required on large fields. The harvester is typically attached to a tractor and equipped with sturdy, long tines. As the machine moves, these tines dig deep into the soil, lifting layers of earth and bulbs evenly. The soil and bulbs are then carried onto a horizontal conveyor belt, where a gentle vibrating mechanism shakes off the excess dirt clinging to the bulbs. At this stage, the bulbs are already partially cleaned and ready to be collected. One fascinating feature of this system is its integration with pre-laid planting nets. As the tractor moves along, the nets help secure the bulbs in place, making it easier to lift them from the ground without displacement. The bulbs are handled evenly and carefully, minimizing any risk of damage or bruising. At the end of the conveyor belt, the tulip bulbs are neatly collected into large bins or crates, ready to be transported to the processing facility for thorough cleaning and sorting. This efficient process typically takes just a few hours to cover an entire field, thanks to the support of advanced technology. Watching the harvester glide across the field, leaving behind neatly groomed rows and freshly dug tulip bulbs packed in crates, one can truly appreciate the rhythm and precision of this process. This marks the final step on the field and the beginning of the next journey for these tulip bulbs, from the nurturing soil to flower enthusiasts around the world. The journey of tulip bulbs after harvest continues at the processing facility, where everything is handled with great care. First, the bulbs are placed onto conveyor belts to begin the cleaning process. Gentle water jets wash away the soil still clinging to the bulbs, leaving them fresh and ready for the next step. Some facilities even use rolling systems or soft brushes to ensure every bulb is thoroughly cleaned and polished. Next, the bulbs move to the bulb splitting station, where smaller side bulbs, known as offsets, are carefully separated from the main bulbs. These offsets, though small, hold great potential and will be preserved for planting in the next season, often used for producing cut flowers. Meanwhile, the main bulbs, which have reached the ideal size, are processed further to be prepared for export or sale. Since the outer layer of the bulbs often carries dirt, bacteria, or fungal spores, peeling the outer skin is a crucial step. This not only improves cleanliness but also extends the bulb's shelf life. Specialized machines handle most of the peeling process, but for stubborn bulbs, skilled workers step in to ensure every bulb meets the quality standards. Finally, the bulbs are sorted by size and quality. The large, healthy main bulbs are carefully packaged for export or retail markets, while the smaller offsets are stored and prepared for replanting in the next growing season. This meticulous process optimizes the use of every bulb, ensuring nothing goes to waste. Every tulip bulb, whether big or small, carries the dedicated care and precision of this process, ready to embark on its next journey, whether it's growing in a new field or blooming in someone's garden across the globe. Once the tulip bulbs have been carefully processed, some are planted in greenhouses. But why use a greenhouse for tulips? It's simple. Greenhouses provide the perfect environment to control conditions and ensure the flowers bloom right on time for special occasions like Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, or other big events. This is how growers turn flower dreams into reality, no matter what the weather is like outside. The process starts with preparing special planting trays. These trays are neatly designed and sized just right to hold the bulbs securely. Farmers meticulously inspect each bulb to ensure it's free from disease or damage before gently placing them in the trays. Next, the trays are placed on automated conveyor belts, which carry them through a watering system that moistens the bulbs, preparing them for root growth. After that, the trays are moved to a cooling room, where the temperature is maintained at around 41 to 48 degrees Fahrenheit for 11 to 16 weeks. This phase acts as an artificial winter, allowing the bulbs to store energy, stimulate root growth, and prepare the flower buds for development. When ready, the trays are moved to the main area of the greenhouse. Here, every factor, light, temperature, and humidity, is carefully controlled. Modern LED lights provide optimal lighting to encourage uniform and healthy growth. Automatic misting systems maintain the right humidity, while heating systems ensure the temperature stays at an ideal 61 to 64 degrees Fahrenheit, essentially a five-star hotel for tulips. In this perfect environment, tulip bulbs grow quickly and evenly, preparing to bloom into stunning flowers that bring joy and beauty to any occasion. After several weeks of careful nurturing in the greenhouse, when tulips begin to bud and emerge from their planting trays, it's time for harvest. The trays of tulips are moved to the harvesting area, where modern machinery and the skilled hands of workers operate in perfect rhythm. Specialized cutting machines carefully trim each flower stem at just the right height, ensuring the stems remain long and undamaged. The freshly cut tulips are then neatly placed into transport trays, designed to keep the flowers upright and protect their delicate stems and buds during transport. Each bouquet is gently wrapped in soft paper or breathable mesh to secure the flowers without putting pressure on their fragile petals. These bouquets are then placed into specially designed boxes lined with shock-absorbing materials to safeguard the flowers during long-distance transportation. Every box is sealed carefully, labeled with details such as the flower variety, quantity, and origin, ready to embark on its journey across the globe. Every tulip, before reaching its final destination, carries a story of precision, care, and beauty, a testament to the intricate and magical journey that brings these blooms to life. The journey of tulips comes to a close here, but it has surely given you a new perspective on these graceful and vibrant flowers. Tulips are more than just a symbol of spring. They carry a story of the perfect harmony between nature, technology, and humanity's love for beauty. Thank you for joining us on this colorful adventure. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to explore more amazing stories from the world of agriculture. See you again on the next journey.